Hello. So this is Sam Hart, and this is my second live at Comic-Con Experience Worlds, the new online event. And I actually did a first live this morning. I'll be doing two every day, but the first live there were problems with connection, with YouTube, with the sound, and with the connection to um, to the Comic-Con Experience website. So let's see if in this second live we can sort out the kinks. And I've already spotted one problem, which is I've forgotten to change the background, so it still says live 1. But this will basically be a retread of the first live, which, as I said, had some problems. So we're going to see if we can sort out these kinks. It seems the sound with YouTube is working, so now I have to throw the link onto the Comic-Con Experience website and let's see if that works. And that should make it appear in my Comic-Con Experience. This is a learning curve. The first day is to sort out the kinks, the bugs, the problems, and anything that can be better. So, of course, if there is anybody watching, it seems there's a slight delay from YouTube to the Comic-Con Experience website as well. But if there is anybody watching now live, please let me know. And there we go. So I'll turn that sound down. And I'm here with with quite a few windows open on my computer, but I also have my web page on the Comic-Con Experience website open. So if there is anybody there, and if you do want to chat, please, there's a space here for you to write, and I'll be able to answer live right now. So if there isn't anybody, this is just going to be registered on YouTube. It'll be there. I might edit it down later to the interesting parts. And to begin with, I'd just like to say hello and also to talk a bit about my work before and after The Coldest City, which was a game changer at some point in my life. But I have been working with comics for quite some time before that, both in Brazil, which is where I live, and for England, and afterwards as well. I have been doing freelance work and also self-published creator-owned stories, such as the one that you can see behind me there, which is called 10 Dias Perdidos in Portuguese, which is 10 Lost Days in English. And I'm doing it as a 8-part mini-series. So I'll talk about that in just a bit. So chronologically, more or less, apart from a lot of fanzine work, both in England and in Brazil, it was in 2004 that I began publishing with Tony Lee writing Starship Troopers. First for Mongoose Publishing and then for Marcosia. And I did the first 4 issues. I did the cover for the collected next 4 issues, and then I came back for the very last 2 issues of the third 4-part miniseries. So that was great fun and quite a learning experience, being printed just about monthly for over quite some time, and it was great. I really loved it, and that took me on to other projects with Tony Lee. So we began with Robin Hood, a graphic novel for Walker Books, and also Excalibur, and then Joan of Arc, and more recently Grace O'Malley. Pirate Queen. So that was a longer experience. Instead of doing floppies that were then collected into graphic novels, these were graphic novels from the get-go, more than 140 pages each. And I was taking care of the artwork and the colors with friends, and also the lettering, again with friends, helping out. And between Excalibur and Joan of Arc, Anthony Johnson called me up. Well, it was online actually. It was through Twitter to begin with. He said, "Hey, I've got a project that looks like your style. It could fit. So, what do you think?" He sent me the script, and I really enjoyed it, and I got down to working on it. Now, this is nice, reminiscing at a Comic-Con about works past, because actually I met Tony and Anthony at a Comic-Con. I mean, we met virtually online through various groups, comic groups online, discussion groups, and I had showed my work, and Tony was very interested, and we met live for the first time at UCAC. So that was great fun, and we exchanged ideas. And as soon as I got back to Brazil, there was Starship Troopers to start working on. So I did that for 2 or 3 years. Went to UCAC, which is in Bristol. It was in Bristol. It was the comic convention that was happening in the UK at the time, and I met Anthony Johnson and Alex DeCampi and other professionals, and it was also quite an experience. And so I started working with Tony Lee from the get-go, from that minute onwards. And 6 years later, Anthony then said, "Hey, have a look at The Coldest City, see what you think." Um, so then I did Coldest City, and it took me another year, and it was great fun. Although the work was great, but it was a very hard time in my life. So I was doubly grateful to be working on such a great project, and I had no idea that it was possibly going to be made into a movie. So that hit me by surprise. 3 years later, um, I was working on other things. I've been doing short stories and other creator-owned work, and I teach. I teach artwork and drawing here in Brazil, in São Paulo. I do freelance illustration and storyboarding for magazines, TV, and advertising. So when the movie hit, that was fantastic. That was really cool. When the movie hit, I decided to do more creator-owned work. I had been doing a lot of fanzine work before I met Tony and Anthony, and after 10 years drawing other people's scripts, I decided it was time to get back into the writer's seat. Not that it'll be something that I plan on doing for the rest of my life, but there were a lot of ideas after 10 years. There were a lot of ideas that I was putting together, and I thought, okay, this is the right time to get them out there. So the first one was Mega Ultra, which is a Brazilian superhero, as you can probably tell by the colors on his uniform, and he battles a nuclear villain right in the heart of the Amazon jungle. And so that was 48 pages, beginning, middle, and end. And I managed to complete the story, both the writing, and I called a friend to help me with the dialogues, and then the artwork, and another friend did the coloring. So I thought, okay, I've managed to write one story. Let's aim for something bigger, which is 10 Lost Days. 10 Lost Days, as I mentioned, is an 8-part miniseries, of which I've already done 5 issues, and I'm working on the 6th issue, and it's being crowdfunded. Each issue I do a crowdfunder, and the 6th issue is being crowdfunded right now. So if you're fluent in Portuguese, or if you understand Portuguese, or if you just like pretty pictures and would like to have a look at a creator-owned, self-published project, have a look at the webpage. There are various links on my Comic-Con webpage, and also on my own website, which there are also links to around here. So I've been working on that for the last couple of years, and this has been quite an experience. I had to do all the research for the story. it's set in the 16th century. So there was a lot of historical research, and also there's science and there's magic. So I had to do research into both of those areas. There's astronomy and astrology, and Tycho Brahe is one of the, or was supposed to be one of the main characters. He appears at the beginning of the story, and it actually turned into his sister's story. So it's an adventure set during 10 days that were skipped um, when there was the change from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar. When I was researching something else, when I hit this interesting piece of knowledge from history, which I had never heard of before that, and I thought, hey, let's fit an adventure into these 10 days. So I came up with a story, and I wrote it over a year. And for the last couple of years now, I've been drawing the story and crowdfunding each episode, which at the end will be about the same size as The Coldest City. So around 170 pages, black and white, slightly smaller than American format comic, superhero comic. We have one visitor, Vinicius. Hey Vinicius, how are you? Good to see you or read you. There are a lot of people, obviously, at the Comic-Con who are frequent clients, buyers, readers, who visit the live Comic-Con experience. And we were all obviously all geared up for this year, but it slowly was very clear that we were not going to make a live event. It was not going to happen. So thankfully, there is this very weird but new experience online. But it's interesting. I suppose we're going to be more and more online in the future, over the next few years at least, with COVID and other pandemics. So it's nice to know that we won't be completely cut out of each other's lives. Aha, Vinicius is also a comic artist and writer. He does quite a few interesting projects with Brazilian Indians. So he's just finished his live stream right now. Yeah, it's a learning curve for all of us, isn't it, Vinicius? Learning how to live stream on the go and linking up everything. It's good fun, and it will certainly come in useful over the next few years. So basically, that has been my work, but I've been doing a few other projects in between one story or one graphic novel and another. One of them is these couple of leaflets, which is joint custody and a parental alienation leaflet. That's the joint custody one, which is a separated couple managing to bring up their daughter. And this is the parental alienation one, which is when a separated couple does not manage to have a peaceful post-relationship relationship. And they're two very serious subjects, and the parental alienation can have some very serious outcomes for the child, whereas joint custody is seen as some of a remedy, at least for some things that happen during parental alienation. And Brazil is one of the first countries to have laws specifically for each of these topics. And so it's quite interesting. I've done a story with a friend. It's not in an adventure. It's done in a very childlike or child-friendly style, very colorful, where we explain what these topics are. And I recommend, if you don't know what they are, please look them up. There's quite a lot of information online, including Wikipedia. And we also show the law, the actual text of the law, and we explain what the law is for and how it works. So that was great. It's for free distribution. It's in Portuguese, but if anybody is interested, please send me an email and I'll send you a copy. And I've also done sketchbooks over the year. I love watching other people draw and having a look at their sketches and their work process. How do they pencil? How do they ink? How do they think about their work? And so I thought it was a worthwhile project for myself and for other artists and for other people who are just interested in art. So I've been doing that over the last couple of years, and yeah, so there are sketchbooks and there are comics and other things that you can see and have a look at and buy even here at Comic-Con and via YouTube. Thanks, Vinicius. Yes, that's right. I did the a lot of people don't know about the laws, even here in Brazil, even though they're quite new. The joint custody law is from 2008. The parental alienation law is from 2010. So they're both completing 10 and 12 years just about. And speaking of children, here's my little child. Yeah, so she wants to play and she enjoys the iPad. Maybe, probably one of the lives she'll appear, which she often does. Nowadays, all my drawing classes are online, like most people's, I suppose, and she always takes part in the classes at some point. So, anyway, yes, comics, narrative, various times in history, historical comics, present day comics, pamphlets, informative comics. There are comics for everybody, every style. It's one of the things that I adored in comics when I first started reading comics. It was just this incredible wealth of information, and you could visit other people, other countries, um, other times. You could go to the future. You could go to parallel worlds where things have just turned out completely uh, different than what we know. So so I find it amazing that I can work with comics and that we have access to so many comics nowadays, and it just never stops. People are still inventing comics, creating comics, writing comics, coming up with amazing ideas. So um, I've been talking for about 20 minutes, uh, telling you a bit about my work. I thought maybe in the next live I'll go into one or two of the works and talk with more detail about the project, about the writing or what I know of the writing, if it wasn't me that wrote the story, and about the artwork and my art process and research. And yeah, so at least it'll be just like the sketchbooks, an interesting thing to have out there, registered, put down, put uh, out there in the ether. It's one of the things that I found very interesting over the last few years, over the last 10 years, since having children, basically, is how important it is for us to have things written down, registered, somewhere that if we're not around, where can somebody who wants to know about us, for whatever reason, where can they go? So it can be a small biography, it can be a comic, you know, it can be um, it can be a diary. I never used to write diaries when I was a kid, and nowadays I regret it somewhat because whenever I do find a letter that I used to, that I have or something written down, I find it quite interesting uh, reading uh, and visiting another timeline. So anyway, if you like comics and if you do comics, if you're interested in doing comics, that's one of the pieces of advice that I have is get everything down, get everything, not everything, but as much as you can, get something written down, registered, drawn, taped, get your ideas out of your head and into other people's heads. Okay. Well, Vinicius, thanks for being here, and have a great event. I'll be sure to check out one of your streams. All the best to everybody.